in any walk of life, you'll get the odd, really lucky person who is brilliant. Most people have some talent, and if that talent exists, it can be developed, and leadership is the same. And I always say that if you've got any leadership ability, then studying the subject, thinking about it, identifying leaders that you really respect, modelling yourself on them, all those things and more can convert someone with just a bit of leadership ability into being quite an effective leader. A good leader, a good boss, will always remember that actually it's people that he's in charge of. People might be customers, people might be clients, people might be workers, they might be employees, but they're people. And they've got to like you, they've got to understand you, they've got to want to follow you, and you've got to look after them. When you're trying to get a big team going in one direction, you've got to apply certain skills. And there are really three things that are critical. First, the boss has got to know what he's trying to achieve. And we say he then needs to make a statement of his intent. This is what we're going to do, this is broadly how we're going to do it. And the second stage is delegation. You can't do everything yourself. Then the third part, and this is where things can go wrong, is if having delegated, you think that's the end of it, you've got to supervise those to whom you've given tasks, but to supervise appropriately. If someone's really good and you can trust them, then you supervise them fairly lightly. If there's someone you're not quite sure about, then you've probably got to keep rather more of an eye on them. War, which comes down to combat, which comes down to a very personal and individual experience, changes you when you've seen people killed around you or very badly injured. Because at that point you realise the fragility of life and the importance of life. As a young officer, that's when you're on the ground with soldiers in a sort of combat situation. I can recall on one occasion in Belfast, my platoon was ordered to a bit of the city which we'd never been to before. Driving to the junction which I was ordered to go and dominate, we came under fire. I took one of my sections, a corporal and 8 guys, and I said, come on fellas, we're going to go and sort these chaps out. I was so taken up with being in charge, trying to make sure we didn't get lost, that actually I was fairly oblivious to the bullets whacking around me. The other soldiers said, didn't you spot what was going on? That one nearly hit you. You are who you are, and you've got to be true to yourself. Having a good moral and ethical baseline is terribly important. But I'm afraid I go one beyond that. I think there is a requirement for a spiritual dimension in life. Particularly in issues of life and death, people are often reaching out for something bigger than themselves, something they want to believe in. We often talk about, he's an inspirational leader. Well, that word inspirational has got the word spirit in the middle of it. So there is a spiritual dimension to life, there's a spiritual dimension to leadership. You've got to inspire people to want to follow you. And to really do that properly, you've got to believe in something yourself.